Imagine waking up one morning and finding out that India has a form of money that exists completely digital. No physical notes, no coins. And unlike the money sitting in your bank account, the digital money is issued by the Reserve Bank of India. Sounds futuristic, right? Well, this already exists and it is called e-rupee or the digital rupee. India's central bank's digital currency or CBDC. But here is the big question. If we have UPI, internet banking, IMPS, then why does India even need a digital rupee? Is e-rupee just a payment method like UPI? Can you use it without a bank account? Is it same as UPI? And most importantly, will digital rupee replace cash eventually? Now we are going to understand all of that in a simple language. What is e-rupee? Let's start with the basics. The e-rupee or digital rupee is India's sovereign currency in digital form. Just like how a 100 rupees note represents 100 rupees issued as legal tender, the digital rupee represents 100 rupees in digital form, and it is not a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. So it is not a private company's digital token, and it is not simply the balance displayed in your bank account. The digital rupee is a form of central bank's money in digital form. Think about it in this way. A 500 rupees note is a physical cash. Money in your bank account is a bank deposit. And e-rupee is a digital representation of sovereign currency issued by the central bank. And now you might be thinking that why did India need e-rupee? Wait a minute. India already has UPI. I can scan a QR code and pay someone in seconds. Why create another system? That is a very reasonable question. You can also send somebody money within seconds if you know their UPI ID or have phone number. And UPI has completely transformed digital payments in India for the very reason which I mentioned now. But e-rupee and UPI are designed differently. UPI essentially is a payment system. It allows money held in bank accounts to move from one bank to another bank. So when you pay rupees 100 through UPI, the payment instruction allows money to move between accounts. The digital rupee, on the other hand, is intended to be digital currency itself. So, one simple way to remember the difference: UPI is a way to make payments, and digital rupee is digital money issued by the central bank. So, therefore, India is experimenting with the digital version of cash while continuing to develop its existing digital payment infrastructure. So, how do you use it? RBI has been conducting digital rupee pilot program through participating banks and financial institutions. Generally, users access e-rupee through a wallet provided by a participating bank or a service, and you can load or obtain digital rupee and then use the wallet for eligible transaction. And depending on the implementation, you might be able to transfer digital rupee to one person or make merchant payments. Imagine you have 1000 rupees in your digital rupee wallet. You go to a shop, the shopkeeper accepts digital rupee. You make a payment, the balance in your wallet decreases while the recipient gets the corresponding value. Conceptually, it is similar to handing over cash, but instead of transferring a physical 500 rupees note, you are transferring its digital equivalent. The technology behind the system is what allows the digital form of money to be issued, transferred, and tracked according to the rules of the CBDC system. Now, let's tackle the question what most people ask: is e-rupee not as same as UPI? No, it is not, because UPI depends on the bank's payment infrastructure, but e-rupee is on the cryptographic system made by RBI. So the banks and whatever payment service companies are in the pilot program of the e-rupee, they have to use the system which is made by the RBI. So it is much more secure than UPI. So that is why you don't hear of any e-rupee scams like what you hear about UPI scams. But the user experience is somewhat similar. You might still see QR codes, wallets, and mobile applications, but underneath the experience, the underlying money and the payment infrastructure architecture are different. Another common question is digital rupee India's version of Bitcoin? Absolutely not. This is one of the most important differences to understand. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are generally not issued by the central bank. The digital rupee is issued by the central bank and represents the country's sovereign currency. So if you own 1,000 rupees worth of e-rupee, you're dealing with a digital form of the rupee. And if you own Bitcoin, you're dealing with a completely different type of digital asset. So don't think e-rupee as a form of government's Bitcoin. That is not an accurate comparison. So what are the benefits of the digital rupee? Number one is it is digital cash. Cash is already convenient because it doesn't require you to type in bank details every time. And digital rupee could provide potentially some of the cash like characteristics in its digital form. Number two, faster transactions. Digital transactions can happen almost instantly, and this could be useful for individuals, businesses, and financial institutions. Number three, programmability. That is one of the most interesting concepts. Digital currency can be potentially designed for specific purposes. Imagine a government subsidy that can only be spent on a particularly kind of goods and services, and with suitable technology and rules, money could potentially carry conditions around its use. And it is currently being used in one of the state in India. The government just sent e-rupee to the participants who had Aadhaar card, and they deposited the subsidy money in the e-rupee wallet, and the farmers could buy fertilizer using it. And even corruption can be eliminated because they can't transfer that to anybody's bank account, or they can't even withdraw it from ATM. And during India's major festival season, typically from late September through November, including Ganesh Chaturthi, Navratri, Dashera, Deepavali, and the wedding season, UPI and banking payment system usually experience their highest transaction volumes of the year. Transaction counts often spike because of shopping, travel bookings, gifting, bill payments, and merchant purchases. But the heavy load does not necessarily mean that the system will fail, because in recent years NPCI and the banks have expanded UPI capacity significantly as transaction volumes have continued to grow. Operational changes have been introduced to reduce unnecessary server traffic, such as limits on excessive balance checks and transaction status queries, improving resilience during peak demand. So, occasional slowdowns or temporary failures can still occur, especially during peak shopping hours or if a few major banks or payment apps experience technical issues. A notable nationwide outage in 2025 showed that no large payment network is completely immune to disruptions. So, if you are planning important payments during the festival season, it is sensible to avoid waiting until last minute for high value or time sensitive transfers. Keep at least two UPI apps linked to the same bank account or different bank accounts. Have alternate payment method like debit card, credit cards, or net banking available. If a payment shows as pending, avoid repeatedly retrying immediately. Wait for the transaction status to update before initiating another payment. And now let us talk about something that could become extremely important in the future: international payments. Today, sending money across countries can involve multiple banks, intermediaries, currency conversion, and fees. CBDC could potentially make some forms of cross border settlement faster and more efficient. India has been exploring CBDC related international use cases and collaborations. Imagine a future where a payment between two countries can move through compatible digital currency systems much more efficiently than today's traditional processes. That could potentially reduce friction in international trade and remittances. However, this is something that happens automatically because CBDC exists. No, because the countries need compatible systems, regulations, agreements, and infrastructure. So, cross border CBDC payments are a promising area, but they're still in evolving technology and policy space. And digital rupee is not only about the consumers, businesses could potentially benefit as well. Think about a large company making payments to suppliers. Instead of relying entirely on traditional banking processes, CBDC infrastructure could potentially support faster and more automated settlement. And this becomes especially interesting when combined with smart contracts or programmable payment systems. For example, a company needs to pay a supplier 10 lakh rupees after receiving a shipment. In the future, CBDC payment could be potentially triggered automatically when predefined conditions are met. Also, I found out that reporters were asked and merchants were asking NPCI whether even they can get a merchants can get a version of UPI Lite, because the small value transactions uh, won't be reflected in the bank statements. And the NPCI software developer told that as a use case he will see, so they can have a digital rupee wallet, and the customers can make payment using e-rupee, and the small value transactions won't be reflected in their bank statement. And I have seen that HDFC banks QR codes and like merchants who are using HDFC banks POS machines, their QR codes are compatible with CBDC. So the thing is, you can use uh, your e-rupee wallet wherever you see HDFC banks POS machines or their own QR codes, and it can reduce the number of entries which are made in your bank statements. Does e-rupee need internet, and this is when the things get interesting. One of the challenges of digital payments is connectivity. And what happens if your internet connection isn't working? What happens in areas with poor connectivity, or where um, you are in hiking and you need to make an online payment to the vendor? And what happens during a network outage, or when a disaster happens? E-rupee is specifically designed so that when other payment networks are down, payments can be done using e-rupee. So offline functionality is therefore an important area of research and development for CBDCs, and the goal is to explore ways that e-rupee transactions can potentially work with limited or no internet connectivity in appropriate circumstances. So we should be careful that offline CBDCs doesn't mean that every e-rupee transaction can automatically happen without internet. So still it is in pilot program, and not all the banks in India offer that. Only major banks and some smaller banks offer e-rupee, and you can download the e-rupee app provided by your bank and do transaction. And when you uh, want the money in your e-rupee wallet to be in your bank account, you can just uh, get the money in your e-rupee wallet to your bank account without paying any charges, and the bank or the RBI won't put any charges on you. So for UPI Lite, you need to download an app if your bank app is not supporting UPI Lite. But for CBDC, it is not the same case, because you can download the bank app for e-rupee and do transactions. And is e-rupee safe? Now let's talk about security. Because digital rupee is backed by the central bank, users don't face the same fundamental issuer risk that they may associate with privately issued crypto tokens. But that doesn't mean digital currency is completely risk free. There are still cyber security risks. There can be scams in future, phones can be lost, wallet credentials can be compromised, and users can be tricked into authorizing fraudulent transactions, like what it is happening in UPI and debit card and credit cards. So the basic digital safety rules apply here also. Never share a PIN or authentication details. Don't click on suspicious links, even if they are from Google or Facebook ads, because Google or Facebook doesn't verify whether it is coming from the proper company which are selling those goods or services. So even fraudsters can easily uh, put ads on Google or Facebook. And don't install unknown applications. And security is still a shared responsibility. So physical cash provides significant degree of transactional privacy, and the questions are who can see the transaction information, how long is information retained, what information can banks access, what information can regulators access, how can fraud be prevented while protecting legitimate users privacy. These are not just technical questions, but remember, your bank or government holding the data, that where you're doing payment and where you're not doing payment will not be a risk to you. because these are operating within the law. And will e-rupee replace cash or UPI? Nowadays, RBI is asking people not to use cash but use digital rupee. And since I have used it, it is quite fast. So my suggestion is have some amount of money in your e-rupee wallet. So whenever UPI is down or when you have to do any small payments, you can use e-rupee. It is still in pilot program, but still your money is totally safe. Otherwise, if you are not comfortable using e-rupee, you can use UPI Lite, for which I have uploaded the video. So e-rupee will also help you to declutter your bank statements, and you don't need to remember where and how you have done your transactions, because you can see the transaction in the UPI Lite app itself. And if you are using the bank's app, you can separately see the UPI Lite transactions from your regular UPI transactions. Otherwise, you can use e-rupee. So my suggestion is that you just go and download e-rupee app of your bank and use it. Just experience how the payment system works, and let's hope that the pilot program just ends soon, so that we be able to use e-rupee, and even the merchants will be more uh, open to using e-rupee. And e-rupee is different from your normal bank balance, and it is different from UPI. And please comment in the comment section below whether you will use digital rupee instead of cash or UPI or UPI Lite. Tell me your opinion in the comments. And if you found this video useful, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who thinks that e-rupee is just another version of UPI, or it is another version of UPI Lite. Thanks for watching. Keep watching Finance Decoded by Tejas.